Ah, y'all thought I forgot about this place, didn't you? Nah, I did not make a new channel just to post a few videos and abandon it. I've just had so much success on the other two channels over the last month that I really haven't had time to come up for air and talk about video games or anything. So I sense that this channel will probably be more important as the summer comes through. There'll be no NBA, so it'll be a bit more difficult to invent things to talk about. And with the lack of games, I will probably be actually playing games more. So anyways, I'm on here today for Gamers Lounge episode 2, and I had a topic that I wanted to talk about because in preparation for summer and having more time, I've actually been trying to get my feel for gaming back. And that's where the topic of this video comes in, is what type of gamer are you? Because I actually asked this question on Twitter. I got a lot more feedback than I expected. Normally people don't really respond to my gaming tweets. They just want me to stick to basketball, shut up and dribble. Or shut up and tweet about dribbling. But yeah, this came up because I noticed that over like the last year, I've been having a really hard time getting into single player modes. It's been this thing for me where if the game is not an absolute masterpiece, it just no longer keeps my attention in terms of single player. So like, okay, you'll have Red Dead Redemption 2 and Spider-Man. Those were two of my favorite games from last year. And obviously those are just works of art. Spider-Man is probably one of the most fun games I've ever played. One of those games where I just couldn't put it down, and that's very rare in my postgraduate life to have a game that I just can't put down. That was Spider-Man for me. But for a lot of other games, it's not really even the lack of time, because being that I'm able to work for myself, I find time for things that I'm interested in. I'm a night owl, I stay up all the time, so sure, I'll be doing videos and working on videos throughout the day and all these other things, but if I want to find time for a game, I will. See 2K. I've never not had time for 2K in my life, even when I was in college, so if I want time for it, it will be there. As long as I can allow that, at least. But I finally realized today as I'm playing a game, like, actually sitting down and popping in a single player game, it's like sometimes I just feel anxious to go play an online game instead. I'll be at the PS4 main screen and I'll be about to, I'll just say, okay, you know what, I spent money on this game, I need to play it, I need to finish this because I'm getting sick of looking at this rack of games that I've never touched. But in that same moment, I'm like, I'd rather go play a deathmatch or something. I still love Battlefield Online, any of the Battlefield games, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, let me just go get on Conquest. And it got me thinking about how online gaming has, at least in my experience, I'm actually noticing that it's affected my ability to enjoy single player modes. And maybe it has to do in a loose way with like instant gratification, because sometimes story modes are slow. You've got all these cutscenes. Sometimes for a very long stretch of the game, you're just kind of by yourself, you're looking for things, you're trying to figure out puzzles. Whereas online gaming is just always so spontaneous. There's always different situations, or most of the time, most games, right? You can always find yourself in a situation you never found yourself in before. Just the interaction between you and other players, there's always possibility for something different to be happening. And so I think this happened, I think this happened because of college. I'm thinking back to my PlayStation 3 days, and I was always able to keep a very good balance with this. I had my games that I would always play online on PS3, but I could always go back to Uncharted and play those story modes. I was looking forward to new game releases so that I could get my hands on the story mode. I always had a balance, because PS3 was my introduction to online services, to playing games online. But I was able to keep that balance. So when I got to college, there was a thing where you only have time for one game. I was a college student. For most of the time, I was a YouTuber as well. So it became this thing where you can play one video game, if any at all, throughout your day. And it's not even going to be every day. So of course it just turned out to be NBA 2K Online, which was something I had been doing anyways. On PS3 I had been balancing 2K Online with other games, that wasn't an issue. But when it became 2K Online and like no other games, like I think the only other thing I would play at that time was Battlefield. And I did that for 4 or 5 years that I was in college. And now I'm back, I'm in my postgraduate life, and I'm actually having to rediscover love for single player games, because when I try to sit down and do it, it's just not there anymore. And today's really the first time that I thought about it. I got Smash Bros back in December. I never unlocked the majority of the characters because I just picked Link and I went online and I played 1,000 battles. I'm not joking, I have 1,000 battles online. That record has popped up. Then I moved on to Captain Falcon, and I touched the story mode one time and then I threw it away and I was like, yeah, nah, let me get some of this 4-player action. And it never gets old. It never gets old. I can play Smash Bros online till the day I die. There's always different, you know, there's different levels of skill online. different people with different strategies, and it's just so much fun all the time. Call of Duty capitalized on people with my condition. I'm calling it a condition now. No, they really did. They got rid of a story mode this year. And truth be told, I pretty much buy Call of Duty every year. While I was in college, there were some gaps, but all through high school, every time one came out, I would ask for it for Christmas. Eventually, I really quit playing the story mode. I never played Call of Duty Ghost story mode. I watched Chris Move play it, and I thought it was a hell of a story mode. I actually enjoyed it, but I never played that. I got Call of Duty Ghost while I was in college, and I only ever played it when I was online. That's the only time. I just took it online, never touched the story mode. So when they announced that Black Ops 4 was not going to have a story mode, of course I came with the outrage, like, oh, here we go. They're following the trend. Nobody wants a story mode anymore. But then I'm starting to think about it, like, I'm struggling with these now. Like, as much as I want to get into them, I'm struggling with story modes now. Dragon Ball Z Fighters. That's a game that I bought back in November during Black Friday. I just put it in for the first time this week. That's a bad habit, right? That's a terrible habit where I buy like a stack of games and I play like one and I don't even touch the others. Don't ask me to explain that. That might have a little bit to do with not having time, to be honest with you. But it's also the fact like, okay, I bought these games and I feel bad for not playing the stories. So I get on Fighters, and this is the thing that doesn't help. First of all, you have the option to play offline or online. And of course, in this day and age, I'm gonna hop right online and go into the lobby with everybody else. You see everybody stationed and walking around. It's a cool thing. It's a cool environment they built. But then I say, okay, I'm gonna start the story mode because that's where I want to start, want to learn the mechanics. And it does not help like that most of that first arc is tutorials. The computer's not fighting me back. Like, it's boring. Half of the battles are tutorials, and then the other half is you beating up on the computer. So then I go into the battle arena and I pick a casual match, and now I'm playing people online, and you know how technical fighting games are. When you get on there and people know the controls down to like how many frames it takes, I'm getting dusted. Every now and then I get a match where there's somebody I can handle or somebody that I can have a good fight with. But then you get to those people that know how to chain combos to the point that you never even get a punch in. And it's like, I would still rather figure out how to play the game by just trial and error with these guys online. Of course, I played some of the tutorials, I learned some of the controls and all that, but it's almost like the trial and error is more fun than the story mode. Like, I'm getting fucking buried by these people, these pros out here, and I'm like, it's like I'm conditioned to just still want to be online though. And so finally, I am trying to not even force myself. I actually spent most of this day playing Tomb Raider. And this is a game I got in November. First time I put it in the PlayStation. And slowly but surely, I am gaining my love back for story modes because I was a real gamer at one point. I wasn't just casual. I wasn't just let me hop online for a couple matches and hop off and go do something else. I was real with this stuff at one point. I used to love the Batman games on PlayStation. I was all in that. I was even playing Transformers games back in the day. Transformers, that was my second game I had. Sonic the Hedgehog, games that didn't even really have online. But anyways, I'm playing Tomb Raider and I'm right back in love again. I was able to play that game for hours. It's beautiful. It's basically like a girl version of Uncharted. That's all it is. You're using a girl as a main character, but so it's just like Uncharted, but in that sense, it's kind of one of those masterpiece games. So I'm wondering, like, okay, when I move off of this game that is just like a spectacle and I go to a regular game with a regular story mode, am I going to be able to stick with it? Because I'll give you a good example. I actually tried playing Battlefield 1. So I got that game in 2016. Of course, I went straight online. I went straight online. I loved Battlefield 4 online, so totally disregarded the story mode. But again, I had this thing where it's like a rack of games. I'm like, all right, I really just want to beat these games and appreciate the art, because that's another thing I enjoyed about games when I was a kid. I just like the art aspect of it. But I put Battlefield 1 in the other day and I'm playing story mode and I'm bored to fucking tears. It's like, oh my goodness, there's this guy telling the story and it's kind of cringe because the way he's telling the story is to pretty much instruct you on what you have to do next. But it was just like 30 to 35 minutes of nothing but mindless shooting. I'm just mindlessly shooting at droves and droves of enemies, and I will never get through that campaign because maybe that's something I enjoyed when I was a kid, because that's pretty much what Call of Duty campaigns were, right? Something like that. But just the mindless shooting for days, I will never be able to do that again. And that's where the contrast is for me, because Battlefield 1 online and offline, it's two different worlds. You get online and I just love it. I love the huge battles, trying to capture the flag, these huge environments, spontaneous action. You're not just shooting at like mindless robots. And that's really what I felt like I was doing when I got offline. I'll never be able to go through that. But by virtue of owning a gaming channel, and just the fact that I do want to get back to where there was a balance, not in the sense that I want to force myself offline, but it's like, alright, there's an issue here. When I'm going out and I'm buying games, and I just never touch them, I don't think that it's like, oh, well, you're just growing up and you're growing out of video games and you don't have time for them. First of all, that's not true at all. I still play games all the time. It's just that when I do play them, they're online. But starting with Tomb Raider, this year, I really am trying to get back into appreciating games the way I did when I was a kid. Because when I get online and that's all I'm doing, I kind of feel like sometimes I'm just passing time. Maybe it's late at night and I've been busy all day, and I kick back and I'm just kind of mindlessly playing, unless it's 2K, of course. When it's 2K, I'm actually recording for videos that I'm going to be making and things that I'm going to be discussing, so that's a different story. But if I'm getting online to play Call of Duty in a deathmatch, chances are I'm thinking about something else while I'm playing. And when that's all I'm doing, that's something I haven't really touched on. I feel like I'm missing out on this generation of games because we're probably at the or close to the end of the PS4 and Xbox's life cycle, and there's some really nice games out there. Of course, we've had plenty of instances where devs have just fucked up this year. Money and greed have gotten in the way, the releases have been glitchy, but there's a lot of really good stuff out there as well. I just want to be able to appreciate this generation the way I was appreciating the PlayStation 3, because I've always really loved everything about games. Like I said, the art, the lore in some of the series. I was even heavily interested in how games were actually made. When I originally went to college, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a game designer. Of course, my math skills weren't anywhere near what they need to be to pursue that kind of career, but yeah, I've got a ton of unplayed games sitting in my room, all from like the PlayStation 4 era, Xbox One. So I'm gonna see if I can put a dent in it this year and just kind of see what that sparks. In terms of online and offline gamers, there's really nothing wrong with being one or the other. It's just personally, I can't shake the feeling that there's something I'm missing out on by just playing the same games online all the time. So yeah, that is a really long and complicated explanation for the type of gamer I am these days and the way it happened and the way I became this way. Let me know what type of gamer you are, and specifically the question would be, has online gaming ruined your ability to enjoy games offline? Because there is a clear line in the eras, right? Of course, when we had PS2 and below, it was pretty much all about offline. And PS3 and up, things have slowly but surely been changing. So let me know where you're at with that. Hit the like button, comment, and sub if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications on future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.